Hi. So, welcome to our Gemara Shir here in Ma'amlo Ez Ramat Bet Shemesh Aleph Eretz Yisrael Kuf Kafei Amud Beis Kuf Kafei Amud Beis in the bottom of the page, very much the bottom of the page. Kuf Kafei Amud Beis. The topic is we're veering from Muktzah, which we've been speaking about for a long time. We're talking now about stuffing holes in the wall, not with some building material. I mean to say, closing a window with a shutter, not the shutters that we have that we know, but rather the old time shutters. The way they used to be was there was a piece of, let's say, wood that was designed and cut to the size of the window. When you want to close the window, you take that piece off the floor, or it's sometimes hanging on the wall. You take the piece of wood and you close the window, you stuff the window with that piece of wood. So now there is, generally speaking, an issue of boneh, at least midrabanon, yeah, maybe even doraisa, when you add to an ohel. You have a building, you're adding now to the building something that wasn't there before, and that could be a question of boneh and saucer. That's in general the question. Now, this year's learned in Ishmas, my father, Menachem Ben Akiva, and for the quick release of all the hostages, Bezat Hashem, should be with us and should all see the light of Chanukah together. Now, before we continue to the last line here of Kuf Chafei Amud Aleph, we basically have to know Kuf Chafei, excuse me, Amud Beis. The question is as follows. I wish I had a whiteboard here. Would have been much easier. Just use imagination. Yeah? Imagine yourself a wall with a hole which is a window, open space. Now, the thing, that shutter that's supposed to close the window, can be one of three situations, one of three scenarios. Just keep it in your mind, it'll be very simple. Either it's kosher v'tolui, there is a string, a chain, something, and it's tied to the wall, to a nail or something, and it's hanging, yeah, it's hanging, and it's still on the wall, meaning it's hanging and it's not touching the floor. And as you close and open it, doesn't look like you're building because it's nearby, it's part of the wall. Scenario number two, it's hanging, but it's already touching the floor. If it's touching the floor, it's not really on the wall, then already it may look a little bit more like, yeah, it's a little like not mamish building, but close. In other words, because the piece is on the floor, although it's tied and attached to the wall, but because the piece itself, the wooden piece, the actual block, is on the floor, partially on the floor, and then you pick it up and put it here on the window, it looks a bit more like building. The third situation, which is the worst one, is what? The situation of, what is it? When it's completely off the wall. Off the wall. The piece is on the floor, not attached, not connected, completely detached, and that's all new item. Yeah, you put it in the window space. It looks like you're building the most, right? That's the worst. Said the Mishnah, Mechlokas Rabbi Eliezer and Chachomim. Rabbi Eliezer is the most machmir. Rabbi Eliezer says that if you have such a window shutter, yeah, you know which one you can use only if you fulfill two conditions. Meaning, only the strictest form. Meaning, only if it's hanging, and not only hanging, it is obviously hanging and it's not touching the floor. It's kosher, tied, and hanging on the wall itself. Then it's a part of the window. And then you can close and open. If it's touching the floor, like in a children's game, you touch the floor, you're out. That's it. Why? Touching the floor. That's already looks more like boneh, and it's more chomer. Okay? Now, chachomim, that's very, very important to say. Chachomim omrim bein kach ubein kach, either this or that, both cases, we say that you are allowed to do it. And the question is, what does it mean, both cases? How far did Chachomim allow you to take a shutter that's not fulfilling both conditions, that's not hanging high up. Yeah? Sorry. Yeah? 1 second. Yeah. Yeah. How far do Chachomim say, how far do Chachomim go to permit? We're going to see that in the Gemara now. Okay, very good. By the way, thank you for the sefer. I'm sure next year we'll make good use of it. Let's see. My ben kach ben kach. Let's look at the last line. Yeah? Says the Gemara. וחכמים אומרים, בין כך ובין כך פרקיכין בוי. Dog the Gemara, my ben kach uben kach. What do Chachami mean when they say either this or that in both cases it's okay to take the shutter and close the window? How far did they go in their kula? Which means, did they allow only the one that's hanging, even though it's touching the ground, or did they even allow the one ben kach uben kach that much, even the one that's completely detached? How far did they go in their kula? Omar Baba Omar Kahana, here the cat's out of the bag. Kuf Chafov Amadalef 126. Ben Koshu, Ben Sheinu Koshu, Veusha Metukan, which means Chachamim say all the way to the left, all the way to the Kula, and that is whether it's kosher or not, whether even if it's not tied. What do you mean, bain? Either or. Either it's tied or even not tied. It's completely on the floor, separate piece. The husha metukan. Metukan is muchan. Metukan, the question is what's tikkun, and you should know, guys, the emes is, it's not so simple. Depends a lot on the type of muktzah, the type of situation, as we saw before, is a chon enough with machshava, or do you need to do something physical, right? Here too, that's an issue. Whatever the issue is, metukan means that it's already ready, either with machshava or with your maise. You decided before Shabbos that piece of wood, that square kind of plank, boom, will go to the wall. Even though it's completely detached, they don't view that as boneh, not even with the rabbanon, right? They go that far. So it's an extreme achloikis. Rabbi Lezer needs tarti lechumra. Rabbi Lezer says, when can you shut your window? If it's hanging and hanging high, hanging and kosher and tied. Chacham said, no, it can be on the floor, completely detached, up and down, on and off the whole Shabbos, no problem. They don't view that at all, this whole business, b'chlal, as an issue of Visud Rabbanon. Yeah, Moisif Elo Arai, Tosefes Arai. It's a Tosefes. It's a Tosefes which is very Arai. You open and close it all the time. It's Arai. It's not for life. And it's a Tosefes. You're not building a whole Mechitza. Tosefes Arai is no problem. That's what we're learning. Yeah. Now, Amar Birmiyah. Now comes a big question. Amar Birmiyah, excuse me for a second. Oops, gotta get my. Amar Birmiyah says Birmiyah. V'lei mamar, who told you that? Maybe you should say ben tolui uben shen tolui vehu shekoshu. Maybe be a bit more machmir in the opinion of Rabbanon, right? And tell me that you know how far they went in the kula. They go like this. Whether it's hanging or not hanging, it's very mistaken. It's very misleading in English. I don't mean to say it's not hanging. Anatolu means that it's hanging. It's not hanging. It's like draped. It's like draped on the floor. It's touching the floor. Vehu koshu, which means maybe what Chachamim allow is it has to be attached to the wall. Bain means either it's hanging on the wall up high or touching the floor, providing that it's attached, koshu. But to be completely detached, maybe that they forbade. And he's going to bring, we're not stop trying to be machmir, we're going to bring a proof. Rabbi Yirmiyah will bring a proof to what he says from the words of Rabbi Bar Chana, quoting Mishnayos. Rabbi Bar Chana. Remember the name of Rabbi Yochanan here. Kan, kach machloikis beneger hanigral. The same machloikis we have over here between Rabbi Lezer and Chachamim is the same machloikis which we have in Neger Anigra. Neger Anigra is something we saw before. This is a bit different. Neger Anigra is a bolt, but it's not a bolt that's bolting the side, the horizontally the door, as we know. It's bolting the bottom of the door. Right nowadays we also have them. Right, there's a hole in near the door and it goes in. Right. So Ditnan, what's the story Neger Anigra? Everything will be clear by Hashem. Ditnan. That's, I think, the last Mishnah of Eruvin, if I'm not mistaken, or one of the last. Neger hanigrar. Oh, what's nigrar? We're going to see soon what is nigrar. Neger hanigrar, you can guess already from what we saw before. Neger hanigrar is a neger. It's that stick, that bolt, yeah, that peg, which is nigrar on the floor. Yeah, it's like dragged on the floor. Noilin b'mikdash, avaloi b'medina. Oh, which means a neger anigrar, a neger which is a piece of bolt, a piece of the wood or anything that is attached to the wall, but is like lying on the floor or even touching the floor, one head of it, one side of it, one end of it. You're only allowed to use it and noel and lock with it in Beit Hamikdash, but not Medina. What's Medina? According to most Rishonim, outside Beit Hamikdash. What kind of halachas are, which kind of averas you're allowed to do in Beit Hamikdash? Which is surah? The Rabbanon. Whoever will end Shavuos B'Mikdash. We actually just saw Tosfos like 3 dapim ago that there are exceptions to the rule, but most cases, Isur the Rabbanon mostly don't apply in Beit Hamikdash, which means this seems to be very much like Rabbi Lezer. What is he saying? If you have something, although here it's a plank of wood and here it's a bolt, who cares? The concept is there's an Isur the Rabbanon to use and build what? With a piece which is touching the ground, even though it's hanging from the wall. That's not allowed in anywhere outside Beis Hamikdash, or Mat Shemesh, Lakewood, or Tokyo, wherever you are, not allowed to do it. But in Beis Hamikdash, it's allowed, i.e., it's also the Rabbanon. V'hamunach kan v'kan osu. The one that's completely detached, it's lying on the floor, detached from anything, is osur also outside Beis Hamikdash, which means what? Which means what? It is osur midoraisa. That's what Rashi says. Isur doraisa. Isur doraisa. You can't do in Beis Hamikdash. So if it's completely detached, according to Rabbi Lezer, it's an isur doraisa. Wow. At least in the Negev. They're not all the same, by the way, but we see that in Negev, the one that's lying on the floor is also the Raisa. The one that's middle of the road, it's hanging but touching the ground. That's the middle level. Then what we say, it's also the Rabbanon. That seems so far to be very good with Rabbi Lezer. Now, Rabbi Yehuda Omer comes the opinion that argues and says, Hamunach, and the real version is Mutar Bamikdash. Wow. Hamunach Mutar Bamikdash, which means the one which is Munach, which is completely detached, is Mutar in the Mikdash, which means it's not called boneh, and you're allowed to do it where? In Beis HaMikdash. Okay? But outside Beis HaMikdash, the one which is the worst, completely detached, is asur, that you have to remember, is asur to use anywhere outside Beis Hamikdash. It's also the Rabbanon. So the one that's completely detached is asur, unless in Beis Hamikdash. The nigrar b'medina, nigra, which means the one that is hanging but touching the ground, that one you're allowed to do anywhere. If you make a cheshbon, Rabbi Yehuda must be. We're going to see it soon. I'm preparing you now. Rabbi Yehuda is the one arguing Rabbi Lezer, and if you follow the Mahalach, he does not allow you to maybe it's the Rabbanon, but it's still usher to use something that's completely detached. What did he say? Hamunach is allowed only the mikdash. In case the rare event you're not in Beis Hamikdash for some reason, very sad, then the munach completely detached is usher. Oh, and Rabbi Yehuda, if you follow the formula of variables, Rabbi Yehuda is opinion against Rabbi Lezer. He is probably Chachamim of our Mishnah, and he says that if it's completely on the ground, it's usher. And that's not like you said. You said, right, says Rabbi Yirmiyah, you said that really the one that is completely detached is okay according to Chachamim, right? That's his claim, right, against Rabbi of Kahana. And the Gemara continues to ask, get it clear. Up until now, it was like more, we're hinting. Now we're going to see it outright, black and white. It's going to be even easier. I think the reason why I brought the first was the Mishnah. The Mishnah wasn't so clear, but it's a Mishnah. Now bring a Brisa that's clearer. What does the Brisa say? Let's get down on our knees. Let's get the facts. What do you call neger nigra? What does nigra mean? Nigra what? Shenolin b'mikdash avaloi b'medina. Which neger is it that is also derabanan, and therefore in Beis Hamikdash you can use it in shvus b'mikdash, but outside Beis Hamikdash there's an isur derabanan. Kol shekoshu v'tolui v'rosh megial la'aretz rochel bitcha ktana. Koshu, it's attached and tied to the wall, and it's hanging, and one end of it, the bottom end, boom, touches the forbidden zone, the oretz. And that's also me the Rabbanon, right? That's also me the Rabbanon according to who? Must be Rabbi Lezer. And if it's completely detached, also the Oraisa. Rabbi Yehuda Oimer, on that same middle of the road one, it's hanging but touching the floor. That's the middle case. On that says Rabbi Yehuda, that Rabbi Medina Mutar. No, if it's hanging on the wall, it's allowed, no problem, even if it touches the ground. El Ezush Medina also, you know which one is Osir in the Medina, which means Osir Midarabanan. Every time we say Medina Osir means Osir Midarabanan, right? Because otherwise it'd be Osir everywhere. And it also Kosher and Eloi Koshu, Velot is being very strict, very, very clear, very picturesque. Lo Koshu, very graphic. Lo Koshu Velotolui, the Shomto Menicha Bekeren Zovis. Which means which one is Osir Midarabanan? The one that is not tied and not hanging, and you mamish shoimto, you completely take it off the wall, off the hole, and you put it in the corner. That one is asur mi the rabbanon. So what do you see? Again, you see that if it's completely detached, according to rabbanon, which are now represented by Rabbi Yehuda, it's asur mi the rabbanon. Not like you wanted to say that it's completely okay. Yeah. And if you wonder about the names, maybe it's not Ablezer, maybe Rabbi is not Rabbanon. No, he gets very graphic over here. Rabbi Shua bar Abba, yeah, quoting Ula says, Man Tana Neger Nigra. Who's the author of Neger Nigra? Maybe Rabbi. End of question. Let's summarize. You, Rabbi Abba bar Kana, yeah, the first opinion, Rabbi Omar of Kana. I keep getting confused. It's Rabbi Omar of Kana, not Rabbi, sorry. Rabbi Omar of Kana, what did he say? That when Rabbanan permit, all the way. Who was the one who was clear in the Mishnah? In our Mishnah, who spoke clearly? Rabbi Lezer. Rabbi Lezer said, Rabbi, you wanna shut your window on Shabbos, unless you live in today's modern world. You have these funny shutters that go in and out. Make sure that it's kosher. That all. Rabbi Lezer is very, very clear. Extreme. You need to tick both boxes. Lechumra. It has to be tied and hanging, not touching the floor, not dragging, but hanging. Very nice. Rabbanan said it's okay either way. Either way means what? Right? What does it mean either way? How far do you go? How far you make it? First opinion, so it said, Rabba of Kana, they go all the way. They allow you, even if it's completely detached, garnished, mitnished, no kosher, no tolo, it's sitting on the other side of this room of the house, you can take it in and out every time. Frag the Gemara, I'm sorry, I showed you here the Mishnah, a Braisa, a Meimra, everything you need, prove to you black and white that no, we see clearly there was Rabbi Lezer. Rabbi Lezer stuck to his guns. Rabbi Lezer is very simple. There was a Rabbi Yehuda, which seems to be Ar Chachomim, and he said that although he argues, but he believes still that with the Rabbanon there is an issue with the Rabbanon to take something completely detached and stuff the wall with it, the hole in the wall, the window. So you see, it's also with the Rabbanon, right? That's a question. How can it say it's mutter? It's also with the Rabbanon. Well, Rabbi Lezer says it's also with the Oraisa, and they say also with the Rabbanon. Fine, good, nice, cool. Tafik the Rabbanon Lakula, I don't know. But Lemaisa, it's not allowed. It's still osir. Why telling me it's allowed? Simple question on an Amora. Amale says Rav Kana. Why am I? Says Rababa Omar Kana. Says Rababa. I know Damri Kiaitana. Very nice. You're bringing me a Tanoim. You're bringing me a whole artillery. I follow a different Tana. I follow the following Tana, which says differently. The Tanya. Let's look at the Brisa. Boneh. Boneh is a similar case to Chalon and to Negev. Boneh is basically a reed, right? You have like a stick, a reed, yeah. She'etkina balabais dos posech v'noyel boy. A balabais itkina, again, Rashi says itkina means he's minoi. Balabais designated that stick to be Poisech v'noel, yeah, to bolt in and out the door, yeah, to lock the door. Bizman shekosho v'toli bepetach potech v'noel boy. Sounds like who? Who? Who's this talking now, Rabbeinu? Kosho v'toli. Only if it's kosher and tolui, attached and hanging up high, not on the floor, then you can use it as much as you want. And kosher v'tolui and pasech v'noel boy. That seems very much laku. A blazer, obviously. This is a blazer. He requires both. It has to be attached and hanging, not touching the floor, not draped. Very nice. Now, the opinion who's against a blazer, who represents Chachamim, is Rab Shimon Gamliel. Oh, what does Rab Shimon Gamliel mean? Metukan afal pishenu koshu. Whoppa. That's simple. Metukan. As long as you either fixed it, designated it, you demuktified it, you made it, you shaped it, whichever way, yeah. As long as it's metukan afal pishenu koshu. What's in a koshu? Where is it staying? On the floor. Is it attached? No. Meaning the extreme left. Yeah, it has no kosher, no toler, no nothing, and it's still okay, and you're allowed to do it. Oh. The Artana is Rashbag, and that's one I follow. And Rashbag allowed to go all the way lekula. You don't have to tick any box. It's not kosher, not tolu, and it's still okay. You say that? That's who I follow. So far, so good. And that's Artana. And that's what Rabbi Bakana would say. Artana is Rab Shimon Gamliel. He says you can use it if it's not kosher, not tolu. You can stuff, pick up, close, open 20 times the whole Shabbos, no problem, as long as it's not muktzeh, even though it's on the floor, moisif, oil arain, garnished. Amar b'davar shilas, Amar v'asi, let's advance, and I told you to remember Rabbi Yochanan. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, halacha Rab Shimon Gamliel. Halacha is like Rab Shimon Gamliel. In other words, what? And by the way, guys, I'll tell you a little secret. 1 second. One second. Let me just clarify something offline. Yeah. Halacha is, I saw the Shulchan Aruch, the Mishnah Berurah. Halacha is like that. Yeah, that even if it's ein kosher venatol, you can open and close. Yeah, you can stuff and unstuff as you like, even though it's completely detached. Frek the Gemore. Umi amar Rabbi Yochanan Achi. Did Rabbi Yochanan surely say that halacha is like Rab Shimon Gamliel, that even though it's completely detached, it's fine? That none. Look at the following Mishnah, and we'll see that Rabbi Yochanan is not going with Rashbag. See, Rabbi Yochanan, in a different matter, just similar, is not following Rab Shimon Gamliel. It says in the Mishnah, Kol kisui kelim sheyesh lebeis achiza nitolin b'Shabbos. Yeah, which means all the kelim, kol kisui kelim. The topic now will be the cover, the lid of the pot, the lid of a kli. Yeah, if there's a beis achiza, we're going to explain later why you need beis achiza. That's not for now. If they have a handle, right? They're not just flat. They have a handle to hold them. Then nitalin b'Shabbos. The nitalin b'Shabbos. They can be carried on Shabbos and not muktzeh. So far, so good. Maybe because you see that it's a kli. Here comes a big story. Amar V'Yehuda bar Shila, Amar Bi'asi, Omar, guess who? Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan is now our focus. Says Rabbi Yochanan, Vehu sheyesh Torahs kli aleihen. Oh, Vehu sheyesh Torahs kli aleihen. Oh. Here comes stories, which means, listen to this unbelievable thing. All your eyebrows are gonna go here, yeah? Says Rabbi Yochanan according to Rashi, you're not allowed to use a part of the cover of the pot unless they have a separate a usage for themselves. In other words, if it's just a cover for the pot and it's like second fiddle to the pot, you're not allowed to open and close the pot with that. It has to have its own usage, star in his own right. The first one who doesn't like this, Rashi, I like your face, I like the expression in your face, it was also mine when I saw it. So Tosfos right away says to Rashi, duh, why? It's a kli, it's not muktzah, manufactured in China, of course, very nice, sold in, Sultan. It's a kli, right? So Tosfos says, no, it doesn't mean that. Tosfos learns that it doesn't mean that it has to have another use. All he means to say is that cover was designated to be a cover, which means you do have to bear in mind that in the times of the Gemara, many times covers were not made dafka for the pot. Today, the pot is bought with a cover. Back then, it wasn't like that. It's mashma. You see all the time, we talk about making covers. If you have a provisory cover, which is not, which could be a piece of garbage from the street, that's not good. It has to have a Torah's kli. Yeah, so even though on Shabbos you're not coming, I'm using it for the pot. No, it has to be something shaped, designated, decided will be the kli. What's pshat in Rashi? So I saw a lot of Achronim who tried to deal with Rashi. I promise I will give you pshat b'li neder. But beforehand, we have to understand, let's leave our difficulty. What am I asking on Rabbi Yochanan? I lost sight here. Let's see. Rabbi Yochanan supported Rashbag, in which case you have a bolt. What's a bolt made out of? It's not a bolt made in China made for being a bolt. It's a kone sheet kinoi. A guy took a piece of reed from the street, right? Just a reed, decided that's my stick, that's my bolt, and we said that's good enough. And even if it's completely detached, we are detached from a blazer, yeah, and it's okay to have it on and off. Okay, that's mitzad building, but what mitzad muktzeh? Rabbi Yochanan is telling you that that stick that was designated to be in and out is okay. Now that stick doesn't have a designation, a purpose on its own. It's only there to serve something else. And yet Rabbi Yochanan said there that it's okay. Here, when it comes to the cover of the kalim, he said that something that's second fiddle to something else, auxiliary for something else, is not called a kli. And that's the question, and that's how the Achronim explain it. Some Achronim explain, not B'nai Zmaneinu, Achronim today, they say, I remember also learning it in Koil, that a kli, by definition, is what? Let's say I have a kli, it's either a receptacle, or it's a kli, you do something with, you use it for a shimush. Ice cream. Yeah? So something which is just a piece of material that's there just to cover something may not necessarily be a kli. That's very, very big chiddush. And by the way, for Tumah V'Tara, it's true. A cover of a pot is not Mekabel Tumah because it's not the kli of itself. What about the koneh? You took a koneh, shkoyach. What are you doing with the koneh? You're not writing with it. You're not mixing with it. You're just using it to be a nothing. You're just using it as its own, as a piece of material to just put in and out. Rashi says the problem is it's not a kli, it's just meant for binyan. You kilu building every time a piece of wood. It's like a temporary brick in the building. It's not a kli that's meant to do something or hold something. It's just meant to be there. Yeah, the cover of the pot, and so too the bolt, they're not meant to function in a vibrant way. You just want something to be on the pot so the flies don't come in and the vapor doesn't come out. You just want something to lock the door. But you're not really looking to function in an active way, and it's not a receptacle either. So says Rabbi Yochanan, I don't view that as a kli. I may view that as muktzeh. So that's a problem because you, Rabbi Yochanan, is such a big follower of Rashbag. Here you're not. Rashbag said that if I take the stick and I decided that stick, which is just a stick, it's not used for anything, and I bolt in and out, that's good enough. And you followed him. Here we see by the cover of the pot that it's not true. If I take it and use it as a piece, boom, it's just it, without doing anything, then you don't view it as a kli. So how did you support Rashbag? You're not really supporting him all the way. V'chi teima, and if you want to tell me, oh, says Rashi, maybe you're going to make an ukimta, and you say, listen, my name's Rabbi Yochanan. I support Rashbag, but you know when? I only support Rashbag if that bolt has another usage, such as said Rashi, lehafech bozeisim or lefatzeh boigoizim. We saw that before. Sometimes the bolts were used to also be a kitchen tool, and people would, like mefatzeh, would break the nuts with it or mix the olives with it. So Rabbi Yochanan will tell you, listen, Rashbag says what he says, that mitzad boneh, the two sugis, don't get confused. Mitzad boneh, I'm a true blue Rabbi Shimon Gamliel holder. Yeah, I'm wearing the shirt of Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. I believe Rabbi Shimon Gamliel as opposed to against Rabbi Lezer completely. Even though it's completely detached, it's 5 meters away, I don't care, on and off. You're asking me mitzad muktzeh? Okay. We have slight disagreements, but I'm okay. I'm still okay. Why? Rashbag would tell you that what that any bolt is okay in and out, even though it doesn't have any other function. Just to serve as a piece of material is good enough. I, Rabbi Yochanan, would agree to him in only in case where this bolt is also used actively to pound the shum or the zaysim. But it's still okay. Nice shidduch. Zog the Gemara, uh-oh, it's not going to work. Umi by Rashbag tells Kli Olov. In other words, yeah, Shimon Gamliel, you, no, excuse me. I was wrong the way I said it. Excuse me. No, no, no. I am sorry. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. It's not that Rabbi Yochanan says, as usual, I jumped the gun. I'm sorry. Sorry. Slight change. It's not that when Rabbi Yochanan made the ukimta, that this bolt has another function which is active, a real kli. It wasn't him saying it to Rashbag. He claims Rashbag himself says that. Yeah, he claims at this point, yeah, that really Rashbag is my friend. Rashbag would say, you know, we can use the bolt and it's not muktzah. You know when this bolt has another usage, and then Rashbag would tell you it's a kli. But if something is just a piece of material and not used to do anything or to hold anything, then Rashbag would be on my side. Rashbag himself would tell you that the only bolt that's good to use is a bolt that has another active function. But a bolt that's just there to be a piece of material, yeah, then he would agree to me that that's called mukta. That's a problem. Zog the Gemara, you buy Rashbag to Kliolov. Are you sure? Does Rashbag require that the kli should be considered as a kli, as an active kli that there's something to do with? That Tanya, look at the brisa that we saw recently. Charesh shel dekel, we saw it very recently. Charesh shel dekel, the branches of the palm tree. It's late. Shegodon l'shem eitzim, you cut them for firewood, right? V'nim lachalein, you change your mind at some point, hopefully on Friday, leyeshiva, and you say, oh, now I'm going to sit on them. Oh, nice branches. Why should I burn them? I want to sit on them. Sorich lekasher, says Tanakama, you have to do something active, tie them, not tie them like the schach, tie them all around to show that you're physically changing it from wood fuel into what? Fire fuel into a chair. Rashbag Rashbag says no. You don't have to be mekasher, which means Rashbag says no. You can leave those pieces of wood which are at gornisht mitnisht. They're meant to be what? First of all, branches are always muktzah. Those branches are even worse. They're meant to be firewood. You didn't change their shape at all, right? You're not using them actively. They're just the same firewood. You want to sit on it. And Rashbag said it's okay. So you see, the Rashbag believes, and he can still move it around. How can you move it around? It's not true. According to Rashbag, it shouldn't be so. And says the Gemara, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit in a rush. What I said before is now. Says Rabbi Yochanan, I follow Rashbag, but we have a slight disagreement, which means I follow B'Shem Gamliel when it comes to boneh. The fact that that bolt is in and out, completely detached, I'm with you, Rashbag, all the way. Right? I don't need Oblezer's Umrah, and that's what we paskin. We don't need it. Mitzad Muktzah, we argue. Rashbag believes that even a piece of gornish that you just used once without changing, without making into a kli, is okay. And I hold it has to be made mamish into a kli and has or has a function. Quickly. We have to get to the Mishnah today. We have to talk about the Hanukkah schedule now. Doros Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha Apitzcha Deresh Galusa. Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha he darshan, the paskin in public, where? By the door, by the entrance of Reish Galusa. Halacha Kabelezer. What is Melacha Kabelezer? What would be the halacha? If you want to bolt the window, close the window, it has to be kosher, vetolui. Meisiv of Amram. Rav Amram is asking, challenging this Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha from the very last Mishnah of Shabbos. I won't go into details. We'll get there in 30 dapim. And it says, to cut a long story short, there's a whole case of halachic measurement, they measured on Shabbos, and we learned from that case from that Maisa that Chachamim did, you have to remember, Maisa that Chachamim actually did Lamaisa, that we learned that Poikikin, what's Poikikin? You're allowed to take a piece of wood and what's Pkak? To stuff, to close the window of the ceiling. Oh, and Moedid in Koshrin we leave for later. Oh, so you see a stire. Why Paskin like a blazer? The last Mishnah in Masechta says you are allowed to be poikek with a pkak that's completely detached. Oh, Amar Abaye, my doctor, what's the big challenge? They're all tanoim. Mishum de ktani stoma. Why do you think that Mishnah is better than Rabbi Lezer? Because that Mishnah over there that said that it's okay to take a detached one and stuff is a stoma. We know what's a Mishnah. What's a Mishnah stoma? When there's no Tana mentioned. When there's no Tana mentioned, it means that's halacha. Neger niga nami stoma. The Mishnah of Neger Niga is also a Stam Mishnah. The Mishnah itself doesn't mention the other opinion, and that's a Stoma like Rabbi Lezer. Woo, that's a war. You have Stam Mishnah like Chachamim, or Stam Mishnah like Rabbi Lezer. Yeah, collision, Titanic. Boom, what's happening? Why do you think one is better than the other? What makes you think that the Mishnah, which is like Chachamim, against Rabbi Lezer is better? Opa. And that's halacha from Daf Chaf Aleph all the way to now. Maiserav means as follows, as you know. When Chachamim, one Chacham or few Chachamim follow, listen carefully, they follow Lemaisa. We have recordings that they follow the Kula opinion, we go to Kula. Because if a Chacham actually dares to Chachamim and Yerushalayim, if they say it's okay, many people will tell you it's okay, but they're machmir to themselves. If a person says it's okay and I do the same, you can eat that food. Shlomo, don't eat it. You know the kind of behavior. But if you say it's okay to eat the food, then it's fine. That shows they're really certain what they're saying, and therefore the winner is the Mishnah that brought us a real life story, a real life case, which was the Mishnah Lekula against Rabbi Lezer. Hence, Shulchan Aruch tells us halacha is like Chachamim against Rabbi Lezer, that if the pkak is completely detached, it's still okay to use it. Ze alohe. We have one more Mishnah to go. I don't know even what. You want to meet tomorrow? Tomorrow is okay for me. Thursday, no. Sunday night, no. I'm okay tomorrow, and then we'll play day by day. I'm not going to come here if I'm the only one. 1 second. Are you okay for tomorrow? Yes or no? You don't. No pressure. I'm saying. I'm a school teacher. I'm just saying no. Not you. You yes. You Akiva. Think so. 80%. Dear neighbor. Not sure. You're not sure. So I also want to take my son somewhere tomorrow. So in Thursday I can't. Monday. Motzei Shabbos I can actually. I was told. Motzei Shabbos. I'm aware I'm online, by the way. It's okay. Online people should also know when to wait for the next video. I'm okay. Motzei Shabbos. Maybe for a change. Maybe Dafka. Yeah, maybe Motzei Shabbos. Rabbeinu, Rabbi. Shabbos. No. Yes. No. Okay. Goodbye to everybody online. We're going to have this parliament meeting without you. We're going to David Mariv. Chanukah Sameach to everybody who watches us online. Thank you so much for your support. Shkoyach Gadol.
So today we learned more than